Hello. Sonia, Ali, how are you? Good to see you all on this bright morning. I was just saying that normally I run around Vic Park on Friday mornings, and when we've got this event, I leave early so I can go home and have a shower, get changed, and be looking amazing on this Zoom chat. And you've got me in my exercise clothes today. So I've just been for a run. In fact, with Amanda, who's just joined us. So nice to see you all. It gives me great pleasure this morning to welcome Tracy and Val. Just give us a wave, Tracy and Val.
Good morning.
And I'll just remind everyone, if you can, for those participating, if you could just mute your microphones, just a reminder for everyone. And Anjani sends her apologies as she's currently in India and she's actually not well. She was going to join us, but she's not well. So she sent her own little leader's insight, which I'll read out shortly, and a little message for everyone. So we'll get started. I'm really excited about the two fabulous, amazing women that have joined us this morning. First of all, I'm going to introduce Tracy Tito. Tracy is a fabulous local South Australian woman who has, who's, I'm just going to say a fishing expert. I don't know if that's the right technical term, Tracy, but she's got her own first all-female fishing show called Get Hooked with Team Just a Girl, and runs fishing trips for women around women's empowerment. And I can't wait to go on one. And we're going to get a group together, Tracy, to go on one of your fishing trips with Skip. That's her nickname. But she's got an amazing story that sits behind that, and I'm going to let her share that, including being diagnosed with kidney cancer. And I can only imagine that that adversity has brought amazing outcomes in your life, Tracy, and I look forward to you sharing your story. And then we've got Val Slidka. Now, Val's actually joining us from the US today in Florida. If I got that right, Val? Val is the co-founder, director, and lead coach trainer of the Psycho-Spiritual Institute. She's a certified coach and psychosynthesis life coach. And I'm going to get Val to explain more about what that means in just a minute. But she's been coaching people, individuals and groups for over 20 years, specializing in transpersonal psychology, evolutionary leadership, ecotherapy, authentic connection work, and holistic business skills. So that's exciting for us all to learn more about today. So, Val, I'm going to get you just to do a little intro to yourself.
All right. Thank you, Natasha. It's great to be here with you guys. I am the co-founder of Psycho-Spiritual Institute. And I think, what I really felt called to share was just a little bit of my story, in a sense, as an intro, rather than more details of like what I do. In my early 20s, I experienced probably one of the biggest heartbreaks of my life that came through understanding how we treat other animals, learning about what goes on behind the scenes of circuses and factory farms or animal experimentation. And it opened me up to this whole world of so much cruelty that I never really thought about before. And it broke my heart wide open. I realized, long story short, that I deeply value living a life of compassion, and that there's just so much suffering in our world. And I believe that suffering comes from a feeling of being disconnected from our true nature, as interconnected with, the wholeness of life, part of this living planet. So I really dedicated my life in service of helping us remember who we are, so we can fall in love with ourselves, fall in love with life, with our gifts, and become greater participants in the healing of our world. And so that's taken many forms over the years, though the essence has always been the same. And it's been in my sacred activism work, or I've produced many large-scale transformational events over the years. I was a professor of ecology at Florida International University. I've been facilitating groups and coaching for about 20 years, and now training people in this work at Psychospiritual Institute. And so the heart of it is really about empowering all of us to rise up as leaders and to make hope a verb, to really put the essence of what that is into action in our lives and in our world. So together we can lead our world forward. So that's just a little bit of the energy of what brought me to do the work that I do.
Thank you, Val. I feel calmer just listening to you. So that's, I feel good energy in that context. So thank you. I also, remiss of me not to acknowledge that most of us, I think, meet on the traditional lands of the Kaurna people, and we respect their relationship with the land. So I just wanted to pay that respect. Tracy, I will now get you to introduce yourself.
Okay, well, I'm Tracy Tito, or Skip as everybody calls me, due to a life-changing thing. And yes, it was cancer, and I'm so grateful I got cancer, because otherwise I'd still be doing stuff I hate and chasing money. So it gave me the opportunity to do one of two things: to escape from life and die, or to do something that which I really love, which is fishing. So started with Team Just a Girl. We're just a female crew here in South Australia. We fish offshore, so we're not fishing just out in the bight chasing whiting. We're offshore chasing sharks and tuna and big fish, rough seas, all that cool stuff, which is pretty cool. Lucky enough through connections to end up with a TV show due to a whole heap of things called COVID for a start. So we were filming a documentary, and when she had to go back to the UK because of COVID, I thought we'd start a YouTube channel instead. So I Googled how to do it all, and next thing we got a TV show. Then along came Fishing Trips with Skip. So what happened there was every week I'd get 3 to 5 women wanting to come fishing with me. And Team Just a Girl was a tournament crew. It's a tight-knit crew. So, and my boat is not in survey, so I can't take people out on my boat just fishing for a day. So the idea of Fishing Trips with Skip started. And just my little mantra with that is that fishing is not just about catching a fish. It's one of the biggest forms of self-empowerment that I know. If you ladies have ever been fishing and you've caught a fish, I bet you'll start to smile right now, because you'll remember that last fish you caught, or the biggest fish you caught. You've got a PB, you've got to get a bigger one, and it's very, very empowering. So Fishing Trips with Skip is about taking ladies from the beach to the boat and then to the boardroom. Empowering. You can do anything. If you can come out there and catch tuna with me, you can do anything.
Thank you. And I'm sure there's a group of us that look forward to doing that. I personally do. I'd like to welcome Melissa Dunbar, who, just give us a wave, Melissa, who is going to support this session today and do the insights. So reflect back on the insights from Tracy and Val. So thank you, Melissa, for joining us and being part of the team today. So now it's my great pleasure I'll get Val to share her 3-minute Leaders Insight, followed by Tracy. And then, of course, I just encourage you all to think about any questions you have. You can pop them in the chat box, and we can do a Q&A after Val and Tracy have shared their Leaders Insight. So over to you, Val.
All right, thank you again. So gosh, 3 minutes, I was like, how do you distill like everything you want to share in 3 minutes? So I'm going to do my best and get kind of right to the heart of what I feel is happening in our world. I think that many of the global issues that we experience in our world today are really symptoms of a much deeper issue. At the root, we're experiencing a crisis of perception, of who we believe ourselves to be and how we relate to the world. So much of it stems from holding on to old dominant and patriarchal paradigms and belief systems that not only don't serve us, but that I think perpetuate the systemic problems that we see. I think we need a new form of leadership. And I know that if you're here, you're feeling that as well. Right now, with so much global change, I think that life is inviting us all to show up more deeply right now, more aligned with who we truly are, more present to the suffering of our world. and also more present to the beauty and the possibilities of what's emerging in our world and how we can get involved. I often say evolution happens under the greatest amount of pressure. And I think as this global crisis continues to intensify, the need for transformational feminine leadership is really essential. It's like we need feminine leaders guiding our movements and redefining what it means to be successful. So that, as Tracy was talking about, we're not driven by money, but rather by purpose and what we deeply value. By focusing on our sense of purpose, the money flows like currency or energy towards what it is that we want to create. And then we get to be wealth circulators. You know, the more money that we create, the more money we get to share. We get to share that abundance. So we need feminine leaders. We need feminine leaders healing and building our communities, leading and transforming our organizations, and really birthing visionary projects that are based in compassion and connection, creativity, and collaboration. And I think, you know, leading from the heart, right? Valuing collaboration and teamwork over hyper individualism, valuing intuition, inclusivity, being open and receptive to change. All of these are feminine principles, you know, caring for the whole and understanding systems. And I think at the core of it all is really having a planetary orientation. And this is the future of leadership from where I stand. This is the way that we begin to heal the core issue that's driving all of these other symptoms that we see happening around the world. And I think that all of us, every single human being, is capable of this kind of leadership. Men too, you know, feminine principles is beyond just being a woman. It's about embodying these softer, more receptive principles. And to do this, we have to really begin by turning inward, to take a deeper look at our inner world so that we can center into our sense of soulful power and purpose in the world and allow ourselves to be driven by that part of us that really knows who we are and the gifts that we have to share. You know, that part of you that knows beyond a doubt that you matter, and that there's no one else in the world that can do what you do the way you do it. You know, we're all totally unique. We all have our own fingerprint. There is no two humans alike. And we have to honor that and own that within ourselves. So we want to align who we are with how we show up in the world, driven by a sense of purpose and meaning and values. And so to show up this powerfully, there's really three main steps that we have to continuously work on. And I just want to mention them to close here. One of them is that we have to continuously be developing our own self-mastery and working with the obstacles that show up in our personality that can limit us from accessing our leadership potential. And sometimes it can feel like there's a lot of things that come up that limit us or block us from, you know, really stepping into what we're capable of, right? So we can explore this with self-compassion and curiosity, becoming a loving observer and witness to these parts of us that can sometimes feel wounded or in fear or, you know, hold us back in some way. And from my experience of working with hundreds of clients and students over the years, I think a lot of times it really boils down to our feeling of self-worth and recognizing that who we are matters. The second thing is to orient our choices in our lives towards a deeper sense of purpose and really recognizing the qualities that we want to cultivate within ourselves, like inner peace or connection or community or leading with love. You know, what are some of those deeper transpersonal qualities that we want to embody in our lives that will support us? And sometimes those qualities are hidden under the parts of us that are afraid. You know, what is it that we deeply need? How do we begin to cultivate those qualities so we can show up more powerfully in our life? And then the third, once we recognize those qualities, is to embody and ground those qualities in our lives by looking at how we show up in practical ways. So we can take that energy out into the world. You know, what kind of steps can we get involved with around the things that we feel passionate about? And these can be small steps or large projects. They can be internal steps like developing, you know, meditation practice, knowing that the more nourishment we give ourselves, the more we're able to lead with clarity and vision. So this is about turning those qualities into verbs. I was talking about hope as a verb earlier. And this is like, how do I live as compassion? You know, how do I live as connection, as kindness, as hope? You know, what does that look like embodied? So this is how we begin, you know, to orient towards these deeper feminine principles of leadership, really shift our internal perception and external perception and create positive change in our lives and in our worlds.
Thank you, Val. Love the practical insights. Tracy, over to you. Thank you.
Well, That was awesome, Val. I'm a bit more of a dot point girl. So the key things as far as business insights that I've encountered over not only, so prior to Fishing Trips with Skip and Cancer, I was a financial planner for 28 years. So with that comes a lot of pressure, and that's where the cancer came from, GFC and all the other stuff. But I think the biggest thing in my whole business life and my life is with Fishing Trips with Skip and with Team Just a Girl is connections. It's all about the connections that you make. And, you know, like you might come across someone at a certain point in time, and that's because they're supposed to be there in your life at that time. So you need to be aware of what's going on around you. You know, I sit down with people and I go, why have you come into my life right now? Tell me about yourself. Like, you know, because I truly do believe that we're all put together for a reason. Like, I'm here today for a reason. Natasha's been chasing me for a little while and I'm not fishing this weekend, so I'm here. But those connections, you know, every time things change or every time a set point changes, and we talk about when I talk about set points, I'm talking about like ages or the GFC or a change in work or a change in your scenery or a change in your sports club. There's always a connection in there somewhere that will take you to where you're supposed to be. So just be aware of those connections. You know, they might not be something that is beneficial to you or them at this point, but those connections are there for a reason. That's why we all come together. The other thing that I'm feeling is courage. You know, like when COVID hit, you know, who sort of looked straight at the negative side and went, oh no, what are we going to do now? Put your hand up if you sort of had that, oh dear, what's going to happen next? Right? Put your hand up if you went, okay, so this is an opportunity. What can I make out of this? Good. Yeah, that's the way I saw it as well. I thought, well, I'm home, I'm being paid. I might as well become a film director. I'll Google how to do it. So yeah, you know, just those things. It's just like every time there's a change or a shift, there's a new opportunity. And sometimes we do have to go outside our own comfort circle, all right, and find that courage to go, you know what, I'm going to put my hand up and I'm going to have a go at that. It's better that you fail after you've tried than you never try. You know, every time you fail something, it's a next step into something forward. So that's how we learn. One of my big mantras is, and after being being diagnosed with cancer and wanting to leave the financial planning industry, is I'm on a mission now. And that mission is for me, when I do die, I want to die with memories. I don't want to have any dreams left. I want to have succeeded in them all. So I'm doing a pretty sturdy job now about moving forward and making all those dreams memories so that when I finish from this earth, there'll be memories for everybody.
That's beautiful, Tracy. Just leading on from your comment around change, I'll lead into Anjani's insight that she messaged me this morning about change when life can be already overwhelming. We're having some difficulties or problems in our life. This is the time to do good deeds, because when we give freely from our heart with love and compassion, then the recipients will become happy, and happiness then comes to our own lives. Often we think we can't do anything because we have no real power, but if not you, then who? We each need to take some time and effort to do good deeds, because in this way we become blessed with good vibrations. So Anjani invites you all to consider what's the good deed that you might like to do, what action you individually may like to take, however small. It could be as simple as smiling at a homeless person, acknowledging their existence, or carrying the shopping bags of an elder, opening the door for someone whose hands are full. Notice the flutter you receive in your heart when this happens. It creates resonance in the heart and ultimately peace. So that's the message that Anjani wanted to leave with everyone. And in fact, she's in India right now, and her personal project is she's decided to help many of the street dogs in India while she's there. She's bought flea tablets and the like to help support the organisations over there supporting those street dogs. So she thought if anyone was interested in that, her cause, please get in touch with her. But I guess the message there is that when you do good for someone, you feel good, and it's powerful. We can all do something powerful every day to help others. So, and we wish her well in India. I'm now going to hand over to Melissa to reflect on the insights, and I just want to acknowledge that Sanya, you're winning the cuteness award there with that little person on the screen. So I just wanted to acknowledge and say
thank you. She's the one that had the question.
Oh yes, I'll come to the questions in a minute, but Melissa, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Natasha, and thanks for having me. Nice to see the familiar faces, and lovely to see Tracy and Val today, and thank you for your insights. Anjani talks about this a lot, and we perhaps we've been forced down a road in a way in our careers around not having our feminine energy show up and not recognising what that really is in a modern sense in regards to where its power sits. And the power can be internal and it can be external. So I think one of the most considerable things that I've actually learned in the last sort of 12 months in being open to what that is actually how that can feed the decisions and the directions that I might take every day. So Val, you talked about your three elements, which is continuously working on those blocks and wounds which stop us from perhaps sitting in that power. And connecting with self can often be one of the most difficult things, because you feel like you have to confront all of those bits and pieces, all of those choices that you may have made over time. But if you can let the fear subside, then being able to sit in that power and take those personal steps forward is considerable, because I think it then opens up our life, not just our career. And that's one of those things which probably segues into Tracy in regards to not wanting to miss out or miss a step or miss a beat where that is concerned. But you also talk about being brave enough to open up to that energy that's external to ourselves. And Natasha, that might lead specifically into what Anjani is talking, is if we can't quite be brave enough just yet or just today to take that step for ourselves, then perhaps let that energy that sits outside in our connections bring that peace and calm to us, so that we just get a little bit braver. Something might heal that's conscious or unconscious, and being able to step forward into our purpose is really, really important. The last thing that I'll pick up, which is probably from both of you, but it's something that connected. In fact, I was watching something last night whilst I was sitting here working, so it was on in the background, is purpose in your work is just as okay as purpose in your life. You don't have to separate it, you don't have to apologise for it, but purpose, where you can find it, is really where you should be brave enough to start.
Perfect, thank you, Melissa. And that point, now I'm going to encourage you all to put your questions, or if you in the chat, or say if you want to ask a question, and we can get you to unmute yourselves. That purpose point that you made there, Melissa, and I look at Ali there. I mean, you're a perfect example with purpose in work and in life joined together. I think is something that really stood out for me. And Tracy, when you told your story, I mean, I can't think of a better example when you shared your story with me about not enjoying your role as a financial planner. In fact, beyond not enjoying it, you really sort of weren't happy at all. Fishing was your passion, and you've created something from your passion. Do you want to just share more about that and how that evolved? And that also leads into a bit of Sanya's question, where how did this actually evolve for you?
Yeah, so like I've been the breadwinner in the family all these years, and sent the kids all off to private school, and the family have travelled the world, and I haven't. I've been here in Australia working, and you can't, as a financial planner, you can't just tipsy off around the place. Like these days you could, but even 10 years ago you couldn't. We didn't have the internet like we have now, or Zooms or any of that sort of stuff. So it was pretty much a hands-on, making phone calls every day to clients. You couldn't send them a text message, So it just got to the stage that I wasn't sleeping. The GFC happened, so I was awake all night watching the American markets, working out what was going to happen here. And look, you all would have been burnt at some stage with your super or with investments over that GFC period. So you can imagine what it was like with me. I carry my heart on my sleeve, and my clients was the mums and dads market, people just like myself who trusted me, and you know, I took that all on board myself, that I was letting them down. So when I was diagnosed with cancer, it was a really easy thing for me. I said to my husband, you know, like, there's lots of insurance, just I'm just going to go. And he's like, you can't just go. And it's like, well, I don't want to live anymore. I don't want to do this shit. I hate it. You know, I'm sick of just chasing shit and not sleeping and being upset all the time and being upset for my clients. And I just can't deal with it anymore. So I'm not going to take any treatment. I'm just going to go. And yeah, so he came back to me. He says, what is it you want to do? I said, I just want to go fishing. And he said, well, excuse me, fuck it, go fishing, Trace. That's what it's going to take to keep you here. Go for it. So that's what happened. Within a couple of years, I started to run out of money because I'd never had to worry about money before. And now I didn't have an income, and, you know, he doesn't earn a lot of money. So it's like, all right. So the biggest hurdle for me was giving up the money. Like, you know, I sold stuff so I could go fishing. You know, and yeah, so I've done a lot of stuff with fishing that I've not made any money out of, and I'm just starting to get on that footing now. But, you know, it's funny because you get a bill in for $500 and somehow $500 just rocks up. It just arrives. It's just, you know, you take the pressure off the money and the rest just happens. I put my hands up for all sorts of weird deals these days, and next thing the money's there somehow. You know, a power bill I overpaid 6 years ago rocked up a couple of weeks back. Like, I overpaid them $700. Cost me $1,800 to fix the car, but it was a start, you know. So if you take that focus off of money, and, you know, like, if I was to die tomorrow, I would die truly fulfilled, because I've spent the last, I don't know, 8 years just living my purpose and involving other people in my purpose and making differences for them as well. You know, like, as women, and we talk about our power, you know, in this day and age, men are too busy to teach their kids to fish. So why can't us girls learn to fish and teach our kids to fish? You know, it's just one of those old school things that have been handed down. Blokes don't like telling you how to fish. They just like baiting your hooks and taking your fish off. They don't want to empower you. They don't want to tell you how to take the boat. I want to tell you how to take the boat. And if you get that confidence to take the boat, you know, the first thing I teach my girls is how to reverse a boat down a boat ramp. Within 5 minutes, they can do it dead straight. Slow, but dead straight. You know, and you see the guys at the boat ramp, they can't even do that because I don't know why. I really don't know why. But, you know, to be empowered is to be empowered. And I believe we are all here for a reason. And if you're knocking it against a concrete wall and it's not happening for you, you really need to take a good look at what you're doing, because it's obviously not what you're supposed to be doing. You may have to go from another angle, or you may have to look at it from another way. You know, you can't just, if you're butting your head against a wall, get out before you make yourself sick.
Thank you, Tracy. I love the practical side of teaching to fish, but there's a nice metaphor there as well. Val, just in closing, Tracy talked about that real life energy. Just share with us really how we can build on that and what that actually means.
Yeah, you know, what was coming to me as we're, you know, talking about sense of purpose is like the difference between essence and form, you know, and so getting really clear about what it is that you stand for in the world, you know, and that can come from a challenging experience, like we've been hearing from, you know, Tracy's experience and how that opened her to her path in life of what really lights her up. And everything just kind of started falling into place. Looking at, you know, what is it that I stand for in the world? Like for me, when I was younger, you know, it was about valuing the sense of compassion and connection, helping us remember who we are. What form does it take? It's looked like so many different things. So not to limit yourself by like, or feel like you have to get stuck in a certain form. I don't know, that's what's wanting to come through right now. So think about what you do in your life right now. If you're not satisfied with that, you could maybe you're running a multi-million-dollar company, but it's not satisfying you and you want to simplify your life. You can bring the same energy of what you stand for into a more simple experience. So it can look like so many different things. That's one thing I wanted to say. Another thing is like, there's no such thing as failure. So like anything that you take on in your life, like everything that doesn't work out the way you planned it is an opportunity to grow and learn. And I often joke with my 8-year-old, we're like, we made up a little fun thing about failure. And we're like, you don't fail, you focus, for the F, right? Focus, and then accept the situation as it is. Investigate what's really here for me to learn about this, about who I am, about what I deeply want. I'm going to keep using you, Tracy, as that example of like, I'm not happy. This is not my life, you know? So what do I need to do to change? So here's where the learn comes in. And then we take action on that. You know, so just looking at your life and what really lights you up and what feels aligned with who you are. You could work a 9-to-5 job for somebody else and bring the essence of what you stand for into it. So essence and form, just really, right. Not for you, Tracy, but for some other people, they can do that. They can do that. And then maybe they really value connection and community. And for them, they bring the energy of connection and community into that job and it lights them up. And so they're able to live a sense of purpose through that, where it doesn't have to look like being an entrepreneur of their own business. So that's what I mean by not getting too stuck in the form. Just make sure whatever you're doing feels aligned with what you stand for in the world.
Yeah, perfect. That's for me, that's what I love about SA Leaders, for this group of people that are sitting around the table right now. So just mindful of the time. And Melissa's there's a couple of comments in the chat box that you might want to just read. But thank you everyone for your time this morning. This group has really formed a great bond over the last 6 months or so. I love seeing the familiar faces and I love having these conversations. We're about to send out all the information for our Celebrating Women in Business Luncheon, 28th of November. It's locked in. We've got a great lineup of speakers, so you'll get an email about that in the next couple of days. And for those of you that were at the inaugural lunch last year, we had to Skype or Zoom Anjani in, so she'll actually be there in person at the lunch on the 28th of November. So for those of you that haven't had the chance to meet her face to face, you'll get that chance too. Val, thank you for joining us. You're now going into your evening, Thursday evening, so enjoy your evening. For everyone else, I hope we've put a little spring in the step for your day today. Have a wonderful, positive, energetic day, and we will see you all soon. I apologise, we've changed Zoom links today, so I haven't set up the poll, but your feedback is important. So if you'd like to connect with me and give me feedback one-on-one, I would very much appreciate that. So thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.